Okay, let's look at a couple of other things here from our draw toolbar. Uh, First, let's look at points. And if you're using the toolbar, you're right here, points. Oh, let me get AutoCAD into the screen. Points. Okay, if you're working from up here, they're right there, points. And what points does is it puts a point, okay? And you can type in where you want them. All right, and by default, a point is just that, it's a dot. Okay. And if we selected it and right click one of our options here, we don't have any options really. Properties, what would properties show us? It just says point up and not a lot of stuff. So if all you want is a little dot and it makes it real hard to see, the best way to do is we need to format that. So on my menu bar up here, I'm going to go format, point style, and here's where you choose the different styles that you would want. So I'm going to select this one here, the X with the circle, and point size is percentage. It's like relative to your screen. Okay. So I'm going to go OK. And so there gives me the point. And PO would be the shortcut. And then I can, I can tell it, I can tell it where I want points. Okay. Now that's points. The spline command draws a continuous curve through a series of points. And if we go spline, if you look down at your options down there, there's a couple of different methods for drawing those, and the book just goes with the default method, so that's what we're going to stick with. And so if you know where your locations are that you want the points at, then you would draw them in. Now, most of the time when in drafting, when we would use a spline, it's when we're drawing a parabola, a parabola-shaped object, which has a curve, but as it moves in one direction, the radius changes. If you think back to algebra and where you're graphing your algebraic equation, and as you move across the x-axis, the y value changes based on the formula. Basically that's what a parabola is. And that's in drafting, that's most of the time what we use it for. So, but to draw one, you pick a series of points and you can see it creates a curve. And then you've got some options there at the bottom. The mostly you would go in tangency, okay? And then you would specify what you want your tangent to be. But that's a spline, okay? And to modify a spline, these are the points that I picked as I was dragging across, okay? So, for example, if I were to take these and copy them, let's say down like this. And now let's do that spline, SPL. Oh, I don't have my OSNAP turned on for points. So, and we'll deal with object snaps node. We'll deal with object snaps in another set of videos here soon. So SPL. Okay. Now that you saw where I picked on those points, and then based on the distance and the direction, it adjusts the curvature of that spline. And the one here on the end is an aberration because it wants to go back to there. So, but you can grab those points and adjust them. Okay. You're not gonna be drawing a lot of splines. I'll just be honest with you. Like I said, mostly we use them to draw parabolic shaped objects. Okay. Now let's look at ellipses, because you do use an ellipse quite often. Not often, but we do use ellipses. And for the most part, an ellipse is a circle that's tilted away from you or viewed at an angle. Okay. And we have a couple of options here. For the most part, we draw the endpoints, and then which would be the major diameter of an ellipse, and then we would draw the minor radius, if you will. And so I'll turn on my ortho mode. And we'll say 0.5. Okay. So the major diameter is the long distance, okay? And the minor diameter is the short distance. That's kind of obvious. If you think of this as the circle that is tilted away from you, the major diameter is the diameter of the circle. Okay. We often use it in isometric drawing, but that's drawing an isometric ellipse, which is a little bit different, and I'll show you how to draw those when we get into isometric drawing. Okay. Now the elliptical arc works in very much the same way. So the book has a step-by-step way to do that. So I'm not going to go into that. Okay, that really covers a lot of our drawing type stuff. We'll deal with text a little bit later this week. Hatching and gradients, we're not going to deal with those until a little bit later in the class. The revision cloud is it's so easy to do. There's no need for me to show you how to do that. So that's all of our drawing type things. And now next we're going to get into the modified toolbar, this kind of stuff up here, or my modified toolbar over here, okay, and how those kinds of things work.